Edward a little over a year ago. He was curious and crazy, but he sure learned a lot and grew up to be a great rooster. He protected his flock like none other. So this channel is a nod to Edward. Edward, wherever you are, I hope that my curiosity could help me learn as much as you learned to be a great rooster.
That's my Edward. Well, I'm going to try something different today. I'm going to make this, try to make it short. I started reading a book, another Stephen King book. Don't ask me what it is with all the Stephen King novels. It's just easier to find on the free online. You could always go to a store and buy a real book. I'm not saying you have to find these things online. It's just more convenient right now. So we watched a movie called Cell, not to be confused with The Cell with J-Lo in it. That was a creepy movie too. You'll have to excuse me because I'm going to take a few bites of food while I'm doing this. So Cell, I actually think it's very interesting. It's about cell phone towers. Wow. It was made in 2016. I know that Stephen King must have written it after 9/11, which happened in 2001, because he references terrorism in the book, as well as the airplanes crashing into the World Trade Center. So it's a fairly recent book in terms of how long Stephen King has been writing books. We watched the movie, as my husband loves watching scary movies. And we just kind of Googled scary movies, and we found this movie with John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson, because that's the way I talk. But it was an okay movie. It was actually pretty good. It was a little eerie at the end. I mean, super eerie. But we'll talk about that. So I, of course, decided, I wonder if the book has something different to say. Of course it did, right? So let's open this up, and I'll do my share screen so that you guys can see the reading that I'm doing, and the let's just do entire screen, and the video that I can share with you with the preview. So Bing Videos is where I found it. And of course, the very first thing you see when you open up the trailer to the movie is this cell phone tower right there. That does play a key role in the movie. Well, and in the book as well. So I'll just play the preview and give you an idea. I'm going to try to turn it down so I can talk at the same time. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear me, but let's start with this. This is John Cusack doing a video call to his son on a cell phone, right? There's the first thing. I mean, this first 5 seconds is different from what the book has. In the book, it describes this guy. In the book, his name is Clay Riddell, and his character is a comic book artist that just hit it big with Dark Horse Comics, and he's excited. So all he wants to do is tell his wife, who he is separated with, but he still loves her very much. They established the character pretty well. And they have this son, an 8-year-old boy named Johnny. In the book, he's out on the street in Boston area, and he decides to get an ice cream to kind of celebrate, right? And he's holding a bag with a glass gift for his wife, Sharon. And in the book, it does align with that, because in this movie, you'll see him holding a glass item in a bag, and he does use it in the same way. The difference is, in the book, he doesn't own a cell phone. In fact, they kind of state that in like the first paragraph. He's one of those people that decided not to use a cell phone, and neither does his wife, but they have a house phone. So he was excited to celebrate with a little bit of ice cream and then go back to this apartment he's staying in to call her. He does describe in the book that they bought his son a cell phone, I think as a gift, but the kid never used it or charged it. So let's get back to the setting. In the movie here, he's in an airport and he's got a cell phone. So that's not consistent with the book. Let's go on with the preview. So his son's asking, "Are you coming home?" And then, of course, what if they controlled us? So you look around at all these people using cell phones start to go crazy. Okay, it's got to be terrorists, right? And don't use your cell phone. In the book, and I'm already on page 17, which is not to say much, but in the book, and I guess I could scroll through the words, but let me just explain it from the video. What you saw so far was everybody that was on cell phones starts losing their minds. The interesting thing is, in the movie, he describes some people close to him, two teenage girls listening on a cell phone together. And I guess one just outright goes nuts and tears somebody's throat out, and the other one like runs into a wall and bashes her face in. It's crazy. People that were on cell phones or listening to whatever was going on the cell phone just start losing their minds, either killing each other or killing themselves or just acting nuts. In the book, pretty much the same thing. He's in line for ice cream. He and the ice cream guy in the truck are the only ones that are not on a cell phone. There's a businesswoman and two teenage girls in line in front of him in the book. And all of a sudden, like one teenage girl turns and bites the throat out of this businesswoman. And it just, he starts hearing screaming and he can't believe what's going on. And he's just like, what? But in the movie, as you can see, he's in an airport. So he ends up going down into the subway, and these people in the subway didn't get signal, so none of them were on the phone, and they were just wondering like, what's happening, right? Here's where things change a little bit, because in the movie you've got Samuel L. Jackson, right? All right. So there's Samuel L. Jackson in the movie when John Cusack gets down into the subway. Samuel L. Jackson is like the subway driver. And, he obviously wasn't on the phone. He's saying, you know what, the power grid's down, emergency precautions, they're going to flood the subway. We best walk and get out of here. And so they leave and they kind of survive together. The character that Samuel L. Jackson plays in the movie is named Tom McCourt. In the book, Tom McCourt is anything but a tall black man. The only thing they got right in the description from the book to the movie is the glasses. But in the book, when John Cusack standing, or not John Cusack, I'm sorry, he's not even in the book. When Clay is standing there and people are going nuts, he actually uses this glass gift thing in the bag to knock the teenager off of the businesswoman, and he's just doesn't know what to do. And suddenly there's this man standing next to him that says, "What is going on? What is happening? Should we call an emergency? Should we do this?" And so he looks over, and then the description, it doesn't say what race the guy is. It doesn't describe Tom as black or white or whatever, but it does describe him as very short. A very short man with glasses and a tweed jacket, kind of like middle-aged. So it's kind of interesting. I guess, if you're going to cast somebody, you got to cast somebody famous, and not a lot of famous people are probably 5'2" unless they're, Tiny Tim. So I'm on the wrong screen here. Let me go back to this and let me finish this part of the preview. Oh, and then there's that girl. Okay. In the book, well, when you see the movie, what happens is Samuel L. Jackson and John Cusack take refuge in his little apartment, right? And that's where you see them sitting there looking out the blinds, and they're sitting on his couch. Then all of a sudden, somebody knocks at his door, and she's like, "Let me in, let me in." And there's this girl who comes in a white dress, covered in blood, holding a knife, and she's shaking and she's freaked out, and she's young. She's like 15. And she starts saying how I just killed my mother. And it's really sad. So these two kind of take her in. Okay, we got to protect her. They give her clean clothes that, lets her shower. And then they decide it's safer to venture out. And John Cusack in the movie, of course, wants to go and find his son and wife. Fine. In the book, a little different. Obviously, since this all started out in the street, Clay Riddell, the main character, and Tom McCourt, the short guy, discuss getting out of the open streets because cars are crashing, planes are flying down into the park, people are just killing each other in hordes. It's just not safe. They start hearing explosions. So Clay Riddell suggests that they go back to the hotel where he's staying at. Apparently, he's staying at a hotel because he's only in Boston for a few days. Now, in the movie, they make it sound like he's living in an apartment and has been there for almost a year because he's separated from his wife. Okay, little differences. But in the book, they get to the hotel, they don't even make it up to the room. They're in the lobby because the hotel front desk clerk says basically there's people that were up there, and it sounds like one of the crazies are locked in a banquet room on the second floor, and it'd be crazy to go up any further. So they're in the manager's office. Before this hotel desk clerk lets them into the building, they see the girl on the street dressed the same in a white dress with blood on it, holding a knife, but she's really scared. But she comes back later and they let her in. They introduce themselves and all this stuff. So there's actually 4 of them that are shacked up in this hotel lobby in the book. In the movie, there was only 3. Now, they eventually venture out in the book and the movie. The plan in the book was to go to Tom McCourt's house, which is located a day's walk away. And Tom McCourt indicates that he has a cat. He wants to make sure she's okay. It's kind of on the way for Clay Riddell because he's got to start to venture north to go back home to where his wife and his son is to find out if they're okay. So since they're all on the same path, Alice, which is the young teenage girl in the book and the movie, in the book, she had killed her mother as well, except they were in a cab. And mom got on the phone, was saying something to dad, and then started going crazy. And Alice, I guess, had to bail and I guess killed her. So Alice is a little distraught, but she has nowhere else to go and no one to watch over her. So she just takes the initiative to say, "Can I go with you?" And of course, the 2 of these guys feel bad. Tom McCourt in the book has a very grandfatherly characteristic that feels that he needs to take care of her, and he does. The book is kind of funny because they do run into some weird scenarios while they're walking. They stumble upon 2 drunk guys that are having a brawl. At first, they thought they were one of the crazies. Turns out they were both just drunk and fighting over a keg. Since everybody's looting in the city, it's just kind of the thing. And whoever the one guy is that won, he picks up the keg. He's all bloody, and he's kind of like, "The F you guys looking at?" And they're just like, "We just want to walk by." And so in the book, he's like, "All right," and he kind of jokes with them something about, I guess the Celtics are going to win this year or something. And so the book has some of that Stephen King humor in it. The movie, not so much. So here's the preview. There's a crazy guy. All right. So this is kind of where I got kind of, you see where these people have this weird zombie like thing. They don't actually have to be dead to get in this state, according to the movie. They just are basically, sounds like they're all transmitting the same way. They make this weird squealing sound, right? What you just saw a second ago was a flash of this scholar in one of these prep schools. He and one student are basically the only ones left in the school. And, I guess Clay Riddell, Tom McCourt, and Alice, end up coming to this place. The culture of the book and the movie is that during the day, all these zombie-like people can come out at during the day, and they do whatever they do. You'll have to read it because I don't want to give it away. But at first, the only way to recruit each other is through hearing on a cell phone. After that, it morphs into something else. So at night, for some reason, they all do what's called nesting. In the book, it's called nesting. And they even describe it in both the book and the movie that they act like birds, like they go in flocks. And they talk about how birds have this like mental alignment where, like, when you see birds flying, they all change direction at the same time. It's kind of like how these people were doing it too. They were all functioning and doing the same thing without communicating to each other. So that's kind of where I'm at in the book, but I'll play the rest of the preview. Sorry, I'm just going to rewind it so you can hear what he says. Good movie. You could probably get it for no, not this Friday. Stop. Okay, so let me take this off share screen because we kind of don't need this anymore. Stop sharing. And here I am. Lunch is good, by the way. Getting to have some pasta Alfredo with meatballs in it. But to continue and wrap this up, because I still need to read a little more into the book. But where I am in the book is that during the nights when they do travel safely, they make it to the prep school. Now, they had stopped in several other places before the prep school in the book, as opposed to the movie. It's kind of like one of the first stops they make. So we'll see what happens. I guess the one thing that the book and the movie does align is that they both stop at the prep school. There is the dean or that professor and one student left. And in the book, I just got to the part where they show Clay and Tom. There is a huge soccer field full of all the prep school students that have gone crazy, and they all are laying in a pile at night. It's how they nest, and it's really eerie. I will say in the movie, if you watch the movie before you read the book, it is a strange ending. Like I kind of didn't get it because it was almost like there was two or three alternate endings and I didn't know which one really happened. My husband pointed out that one is obviously not a real ending. Um, so it's strange. You may want to read the book first. You may want to watch the movie first. The only reason I'm reading the book is I didn't even know there was a book about it until we watched the movie. I didn't even know about the movie until my husband found it. So you do you. And I'm going to wrap this part up. I'm going to read some more of the book and I'll continue with any of the differences. If you guys have something else that you see that you think of, any other books, any other movies, whatever, hey, point them out to me. Leave me a comment. And I'm sorry I can't leave any information in the description on my last video about The Shining. I tried to leave links for everybody to just click and look, click and look. But apparently I'm not allowed to until I get more popular. So thanks for listening in. It's been a good 20 minutes. So I think that's enough for everybody's attention span. So thanks a lot. I'll continue with either the rest of Cell on the next video, or I'll continue on with The Shining. The Shining has so many moving parts and so much going on. That's going to be like a 10 video segment thing. So thanks a lot for listening, you guys. Take care and read something. It'll be great.